Hello and welcome to Beyond the Graves and Stars, the horror and sci-fi podcast. In this episode, I am joined by a new special guest co-host. His name's Sam Williamson and he's the bass player in the Ipswich-based band Hope Ahead. Check them guys out. But he's also a massive horror movie fan. I've known the guy for several years now, and this episode is a long time coming. Well, him joining us is a long time coming. But we came up with the idea with a little mini series of episodes called Childhood Ruined. And that's a phrase I dislike. I'll talk about that later in the podcast. Dislike, I don't know, it annoys me. We're focusing on basically children's stories or children's TV shows that have been adapted and changed into horror movies. And a few years ago, several years ago, they released the movie Banana Splits based on the old TV show, which was basically a slasher movie. And I really liked that movie, but when it came out, a lot of people seemed upset by it. Since then, we've had a lot of, say, fairy tales and kids' books turned into horror movies. And recently, there's been the Pooniverse, which is what we're going to focus this first episode on, starting with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, its sequel, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, and Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, British low-budget horror films that badly received by critics, but for low-budget movies have really done the business. Sam and myself had many a conversation about these movies and films like it, so we thought, what better to start an episode as him as a guest than to focus on these movies. If you haven't already seen them, they're available on streaming downloads and DVD and Blu-ray, so there are ways to get hold of them. Do suggest, if you don't want spoilers, to watch the movies first. Okay, so this is a conversation I had with Sam about these movies.
Let's begin. I'm going to take you back there. Feel all weight drift away. How are you feeling?
Good, I think.
Do you recall anything from the session? Focus. What is happening?
This was the day Billy was taken.
And kids. They didn't stay buried. It's as if the earth itself was allowing this horror to rise up.
There's some unsettling similarities to the 100 Acre Massacre.
It's not safe. There have been loads of murders being dashed down.
Tell me everything you see, please.
I knew this day would come. All of Ashdown will burn.
Sam, thanks very much for joining me. It's been a long time coming. How are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. It's been a very long time, but I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes, and bit of a buzz online as well. A few people have been like, this is the episode they're looking forward to.
Yeah, so what low-budget horrors do to you, especially ones from your childhood that you don't expect to be turned into horror films.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's what's upset a lot of people about these movies. But just before we start, obviously you're a big horror fan. Well,
yes.
So obviously I know that. I've known you many years, and we've been to see many horror films together, horror festivals now as well.
We have.
Can you remember the first horror film you saw, or what got you into horror?
The very first horror film I saw, I remember watching it with my mum, funny enough, was The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
I remember me and my mum making a big deal of it. We were going to sit in the dining room at the time, and we got popcorn and Pringles and everything like that, and we just put The Sixth Sense on. I just remember being blown away by... It was the Misha Barton, I believe, the actress, when she played the sick little girl.
Oh, yeah.
I always remember that jump scare when she comes out of the tent.
Yes.
And that was one of my first big jump scare
cool.
that I had.
Yeah. And I've got to ask, did you know the twist?
No, I didn't know the twist at all at that time. I was too young. That was way before the whole social media and spoilers thing, so I had no idea about the twist at all in it. But I didn't even guess it at the time either. That's
great, yeah, because I was spoilt with that by somebody who'd seen it before me, which is really annoying. That's a good one. That's different to what I thought. I thought you, because you're really into Nightmare on Elm Street and that sort of thing. You sort of started with a 90s one, then went back. Yeah,
it went back. What I remember from A Nightmare on Elm Street, I remember having a Guinness Book of World Records. And I can't remember what record it was, but I remember Freddy Krueger being a big picture of Freddy Krueger in this Guinness Book of Records, and I was talking to my dad about it, and he'd tell me all these things about Freddy Krueger, and it terrified me. I was so scared of this guy when I was younger, being this big horror boogeyman that my dad built it up to be. And I remember catching a glimpse of the Nightmare on Elm Street 1 on Sky once as I was just flicking through channels, and I was like, nope, turn it off, can't be watching this.
That's really interesting, because I got into Nightmare on Elm Street through being scared of the character as well, and then forcing myself to watch it when I was a bit older. But I will mention that we will be at some point covering those movies, and you're going to come on, I believe, to talk about part 3.
Part 3, my favourite of the Elm Street ones. Well, one of my favourites of the Elm Street. I have a big soft spot for the original, obviously. I think it's one of the best, darker Freddy stories.
Yeah.
Part 5 was the first ever one I owned on DVD. I remember getting it for Christmas one year, so that's got a special place in my heart. But number 3, I think, is the definitive Freddy. It's the perfect mix of the horror elements and the comedic elements that make him so iconic.
Yeah, and a great cast as well. You've got Lawrence Fishburne, Patricia Arquette, and obviously Robert Englund, and Nancy's back in that one as well. So that's that and part 7 are my favourite sequels.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that later. Yeah. We're here to talk about the first of the franchise. It's now called the Pooniverse, isn't it?
Yes, it was originally titled the Twisted Childhood Universe. Yeah. And now it's the Pooniverse. After Online's just christened it that now.
Yeah, and it's not that old. The first movie came out 2 years ago, 2023. Yep. Small cinema release, but got a lot of internet hate, and got basically promoted through negativity.
Yes.
And in the year it came out, there was some poll or something, and it was the second most anticipated movie of that year, behind Barbie. So there's more people wanting to watch this film than Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Didn't get as good reviews as that.
No, it's not quite Oscar worthy, but it did get a couple of Razzies, I believe, though.
A couple? We got 5, which is the joint most with The Postman from the 90s, the Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah.
I remember renting that when I was younger, and we turned it off. So, and I want to go, well, it was long and slow, but now I think I'd like it, and look at people do kind of like it. We're talking more about horror, but this podcast is sci-fi as well, and that could, I've got to look into that, could possibly go into it, but I don't know if I could force myself to watch it again. I'm trying to get someone to come and watch RoboCop 3 with me.
Yeah.
And the person who done the other ones won't do it. So some films won't. I'll turn my phone off, shall I? Because it just went off, which is really annoying of me. Right, okay. So this movie, I'm guessing you watched on DVD?
I watched it on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Yep, I bought it on Amazon.
Yeah, because it got a very small cinema release.
Yes.
But it cost 100 million.
100,000.
100 million, God. 100,000, and it made 7.7 million.
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
They got their return back on it.
Yes.
Especially considering that was filmed in, I believe, 8 days.
Yeah. 8 days, and the camera they rented to film it with would have cost more than the whole budget of the film if they bought it, which is a factor I love. So we'll just delve into it then. This is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which has got, I'll give you the quick ratings of it.
Go for it.
On IMDb, 2.9 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, don't care about Rotten Tomatoes anyway, 3% out of 100. And on Letterboxd, 1.1 out of 5. So this is, so far in this podcast, the lowest rated film I've covered. and I think unjustified, but we'll get into that.
Yes.
But it starts I'll just talk about the intro actually, because it starts animated, doesn't it?
Yes, it got a hand-drawn animated brief synopsis of what's happened in the past with Christopher Robin, basically the story that we know, Christopher Robin having these friends in the woods, which then he grows up. Obviously, they don't grow up living in an enchanted forest, and it just goes a bit south from there, really. They get depressed.
Yeah, he goes off to college, and they don't like it because he's been feeding them, really.
Yeah.
And he goes off to college, they're not happy about it, and they need food, so Pooh decides to pick on the weakest one, being Eeyore, and they eat him.
Yeah, I have here in my notes, poor Eeyore.
Yeah.
That emotionally impacted me quite badly, that film.
Yeah, I mean, this might be why the film gets so much hate, because everyone loves Eeyore, and he's not in it. And very briefly in the animated intro, you see Eeyore, and then he's gone. And I think that's good for making me hate the villains now, because Eeyore was great. And so next scene, it jumps to Christopher Robin is back with his wife?
That's his fiancée. They're about to get married, I believe.
About to get married. He goes to 100 Acre Wood. And long story short...
It doesn't go very well for him.
No,
well, for her it doesn't.
No, the first character we see is Piglet. And the wife gets killed. And then they go for Christopher Robin, and it cuts to the opening scene. This will be spoiler heavy.
Yes.
We'll
There's not really any way around it being spoiler heavy throughout the...
Yeah, so after the credits, we join basically the main protagonist of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Christopher Robin is gone. You don't know if he's died, or what does happen is he's been taken by them. And we meet the main character, whose name escapes me because I can't find the notes. I've literally been watching it just before. And it's played by... The actress has the same name as the character, and I think in a low budget film, I always think that's just so they don't mess up.
That potentially, yeah.
It's Maria, played by Maria Taylor, who I think is a really good actress. She's not been in much else. She's been in a couple of other B movies.
This can only skyrocket her career.
Yeah, Dinosaur Prison and Mega Lightning. They both sound great. That sounds my kind of thing.
I think we need to look up Mega Lightning now.
Yeah, exactly. And didn't mention that Christopher Robin is played by Nikolai Leon, who I haven't seen before, and he's not in the sequel.
No, the sequel was completely recast, but we'll get back. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he was in another movie called Alien Invasion, which features a couple of the same cast members as this. So a lot of the low-budget British filmmakers do work together a lot.
Yeah. An interesting note that I've found on this is that in the Japanese dub for the film, Winnie the Pooh has the same voice as the actual guy who does the Japanese cartoons for Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, really?
And he only says two or three words throughout the whole film, but the Japanese dub is done by the same person.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, they couldn't get Jim Cummings to do the voice of Winnie the Pooh for this one because he absolutely hates the idea that all his work through his life has been turned into a gore horror fest.
Ah, that is a shame.
Yeah, so he threatens legal action online if anybody tries to get him to do anything with the film.
Yeah, okay. But with the film as well, it's been made because in the book it's based on was written in 1922, so it's been 100 years, so it's now in public domain.
Yes.
Whereas the Disney was 1966, so they can't do anything Disney related anyway.
The difference between the two characters is if Winnie the Pooh has no clothes on, or if Winnie the Pooh is dressed differently, it's public domain. But if the character has the red shirt on, kind of like the red half shirt on, then he's property of Disney still for a few more years.
Yeah, until 2066.
Yes.
Which
a couple more years.
We'll be doing a follow-up podcast then. And also, that is why in the first movie, I believe, Tigger's not there or mentioned at all, because he was in a later Winnie the Pooh book that came out in 1922. Yeah, 1924.
Yeah, that's why he's only in the second film, because the entered the public domain that year, and they got straight to work adding Tigger as a character to it. But he bears no resemblance to the Disney character still, because, like you said, still got the copyright on.
Yeah. Disney ruin our films, eh? And
my poor childhood.
Yeah, and I think they've done a really good job of sort of keeping it away from the Disney.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and there's no even subtle. Yeah, I think they were just too worried that they couldn't. But there's more references to Winnie the Pooh in these films than when I first watched. I noticed the first time, and I think they've done a really good job. But quickly going back to the plot.
Yep.
So we find Maria. Was it Maria? It is Maria.
Yes.
And basically, she's been traumatized from a stalker. So she goes away to regroup with some friends to a cabin in the woods. And
I love that horror trope.
Yes, and I just want to mention as well how the film's shot. So to be honest, we're talking about, this is the first time I've done a podcast on more than 2 films, so I'm being a bit worried. So what we'll say is they get to the cabin in the woods, and then they meet
the aforementioned Winnie the Pooh and Piglet.
Yes, and it all goes a bit crazy. Something like the way it's shot, very low budget, but there's some like drone scenes over the woods.
Yes,
and I think it looks good.
Some scenes are beautifully shot.
Yeah, and then others you can tell it's cheap.
Yes, like I noticed in one of the final fights in the film when Pooh is going against a bunch of essentially, I think they're like redneck characters who have stumbled across this in the middle of the woods. Winnie the Pooh changes size quite considerably between each shot. So sometimes he is normal. Tall man size. Another time he's like 9 feet taller than the rest of them.
I mean there's a bit of inconsistency there, but there's one shot that, listening to the director's commentary a week or so ago, they done on purpose so he grows and gets bigger just before it, because there is one shot where he looks absolutely huge.
Yes.
And the director said that he didn't know whether that was kind of a Marmite scene. Some people loved it because it sort of showed what the person was seeing in their head. Cause they were scared.
I was going to say it could be an aspect thing. Like the fear is making this creature seem a lot bigger.
Yeah. Which in that respect, I think it worked. But why only do it once?
Yeah.
You see it and it stands out. There's a scene in what's the film from last year, Love Lies Bleeding, where she just gets massive at the end, which seems really out of context with the rest of the film. I just spoilt another film for you. I do apologise.
We're on a roll.
Yeah, but the effects and gore, we should talk about that, because it is at points very violent.
Yes.
And I think done really well considering the budget.
Yeah, some of the scenes I've noticed were some of your typical like on the computer effects things from high school with like the blood splatter, like when her woman's head gets run over. But some of them are just incredibly well done. Yeah,
I think that the practical effects look great. I'm not a fan, like many people, I'm not a fan of like CGI blood and that sort of thing. And there is a little bit of that in this.
Yeah.
And I don't think it looks good. But then there's other CGI bits. There's a lot of use of bees.
Yes.
And that looks really cool, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of, Winnie the Pooh uses, it doesn't have much probably because of the budget, but there's a few shots of bees which sort of act as Winnie's minions, according to the director.
Yeah.
So they'll go and get Winnie the Pooh when there's someone to attack and that sort of thing. And I think that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I did enjoy that aspect. It's kind of like a warning sign that Winnie the Pooh is near, that he sends out the minions.
Yeah, which is cool. And it looks good as well. The look of the creatures now, on first look, when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, that just looks like a guy in a mask.
Yeah, I'm still convinced that they had a Shrek mask and they painted it yellow for Winnie the Pooh in this film.
That's true. Yeah. It looks like there were a little, mostly it's still and looks like a mask, but there are a few moments where you see him subtly smile. And, and he wanted to do the director. I haven't even said the director's name yet, have I?
No.
It's Rhys. My brain is gone. It's what am I doing? It's morning, right?
Yeah, it's morning.
Rhys Frake-Waterfield is who the guy is, who directed and wrote the first 2 movies, the Winnie the Pooh ones, and he wrote the Peter Pan one as well.
Yes.
So he's been involved in all of them. It's basically his world.
He is the what's his name? Kevin Feige of the Pooniverse.
Yes. And he was saying that he wanted to do more with the eyes of Winnie the Pooh, but budget-wise they couldn't do it. And this is held back a lot by budget, but when you think of, basically they made this film themselves out of nothing, and I think they've done it quickly to get it out before anybody else would.
Yeah, I think it was to capitalise while the iron's hot, kind of.
Yeah, and there's still, it's because it's done well financially, and it has got its cult following already. There hasn't been, to my knowledge, another Winnie the Pooh horror film, whereas there's 3 Mickey Mouse, 3 Popeye. 3 Popeyes,
2 or 3 Mickey Mouses, I believe.
Yeah, because there's Mousetrap, Screamboat, and I'm sure there's another one as well.
I think there's an upcoming.
Yeah.
Another one that's upcoming.
So,
I know both of them films are getting sequels at some point.
Yeah. So people are getting confused. what's in this universe and
Yeah.
what isn't. Now there is a film either out or coming out soon called Piglet, which is nothing to do with this at
Right.
all, but it is that character. So it is getting a bit confusing, and that is one problem with stuff in public domain, is that everyone can just do it,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's what unless you research into it. And it sounds bad, me going, oh my god, there'll be cheap rip-offs of this, because people will see it as a cheap rip-off anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a fun one. No, I say fun. Moments are really dark. And with the first movie is very, for me, I'd say it reminds me of a 80s slasher.
Yes, very. You can definitely tell its roots within the Friday the 13th fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, with the whole cabin in the woods and the mysterious slasher coming from the shadows, is very Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, and the whole late teens, early 20s, and they're all girls. There's a scene that some people have mentioned online. One of the first kills, Winnie the Pooh does rip her top off, which is something that you don't see much now.
No, you don't see that much at all in modern horrors.
The director said that the day they done that, he wasn't sure. I'm not even sure if they were going to do it. I can't think how he worded it. But the actress was just like, "Is this a scene where I take my top off?" And I think that put them all at either. Okay, we will do it. Personally, I don't think that bit's needed.
No, it's not really. Not in
the way it's done.
Yeah.
Because it does just. It's just a. It's the shirt she's wearing is like a t-shirt Hulk Hogan would wear down to a wrestling ring and just ripped off really easily.
Yeah.
Which is weird because that bit is misogynistic. It's a sexist scene, whereas some of it is quite what people call woke now, with the whole there's a gay relationship in there, which is just there. It's not. They don't push it. It's not talked about.
It's not a plot point. And it doesn't need to be.
No, exactly. And that I think is great. That's very.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I think this is made by people like ourselves who grew up watching these films, but actually are aware what year we live in.
Yes.
So it's not. I mean, that one scene, and I think that's done almost as a homage to the older ones.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in the next two installments, and probably won't unless it's done for comedy's sake. There's a whole jacuzzi scene in this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a whole electrocution jacuzzi scene.
Yeah. Which is the sort of thing you'd still get in Hollywood horrors. Like it'd be the sort of thing you'd see in Clown in the Cornfield or something like that.
And I mean, it fits in within the context of the story as well, I think, because if you go to a cabin in the woods, you're out with your friends, and there's a jacuzzi, you're going to get in a jacuzzi. You're not going to have a plot point like that, something like that, and not go into it as a normal person, are you? So
exactly,
if it's there, you're going to use it. So I don't think it was put in there for the sake of being, oh, look at this lovely lady in a bikini kind of thing.
It's not sold as that sort of sexploitation sort of horror. Which you were getting right up till the 2000s, really. I mean, remember the trailers for Hostel when that first came out? It was like, And then I was listening to something the other day, and it was when the internet first started. There was all these weird websites what would tell you how many nude scenes are in a horror film and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's very strange.
And I think we've come a long way. I mean, I love all these old movies, but you kind of that sort of stuff you laugh at, and you're like, oh god, you kind of don't get me wrong. I'm a male and don't mind seeing that sort of thing, but there's no need for it all the time to sell a horror film.
No, but there's also now a website that tells you if there's any dogs that died in the film.
We need that one.
Yeah, that one is a much more impressive use of the internet's time than if there's a sex scene in a movie.
Yeah. I'm glad that wasn't about when John Wick came out. Well, there'd have been no franchise at all.
No.
And I don't think there's any doggy killings in these movies. There's plenty of human killings.
There's plenty of human killings, and there's a little bit of animal hybrid people killings.
But this one, the first one, it's low budget. The acting, there's a real divide, I think, between. There's some really good acting in it, and there's some terrible acting in it. And I think that comes from the quality of people they could afford to employ. The guy who plays Christopher Robin, I thought was pretty good.
Yep, he was very good. Very good.
Very good. Rhea's good. And some of her friends are good. But other than that, there is a lot of what I call sci-fi channel acting.
Yes, straight out of film school.
Yeah. And they don't bring reality to the characters. Even when she goes to the therapist, that actor's an older actor. She didn't, to me, seem very good.
So if we're on about the hypnotherapist,
that's the one.
His
therapist is in the second one. You get Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
So I'm getting confused. But but sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. That ties in to Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare as the Wendy's mum. is the hypnotherapist from that film.
Same actress.
Yep, same actress, same character.
Yeah, because there's a few little crossovers. I didn't pick up on that one.
Yeah.
But there's more actors crossover in 2 and 3, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Which I think is strange, actually, because if it's the same character, that goes against context, because this is... Should we move on to the second one?
Yeah, let's move on to the second one to add context to this bit of the conversation.
Yeah, because the second one is a different actor for Christopher Robin, and it basically tells you that the first movie is a movie in this world now. And so whenever they talk about the events of the first one, there's also this film, and you see it.
Yeah, the film is called Christopher Robin, Blood and Honey.
Yeah, so they've changed actors, so that explains that. We've now got, is it Scott Chambers who's playing Christopher Robin, who does a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and actually the guy who plays Christopher Robin in that directed the Peter Pan one, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I think his name's Scott Chambers, and yeah, so the effects are better. The bear looks more like a bear. Still looks like a bloke in a mask, but does look more like a bear. And I think they've done that to explain this. So that's why I didn't realise it was the same. So that bit kind of doesn't work.
Yeah, so it's kind of, in this one they say that, basically, spoilers again, sorry, but the children who were kidnapped by this person who's experimented on them with animals, and they've turned them into basically the Winnie the Pooh, the piglets, and the eels, the ones we haven't seen on there. I have a theory on this.
Yeah.
My great theory on this, from looking at the character and how he's so menacing and he's talking to all the victims and things, I think the man who played Owl is actually the one who's kidnapped these kids and has turned them into them.
Yeah, that would make sense. You mentioned that to me a while ago, and then when I rewatched it, I'm like, I can see that happening. So now it's the aftermath of the events of the first one.
Yes.
Which are now a film, so we haven't seen the proper events, we've seen the film version, mainly to explain plot holes. Like there's a bit in the first movie where it says they're vowed not to talk.
Yes.
So in this one, the characters talk. Winnie the Pooh once again says 2 words.
Yes.
Oh, bother.
He had to get it in there.
He did say,
had to get it in.
But the rest, Owl talks.
Owl talks a lot.
Tigger talks. Piglet still doesn't. But Owl's there now, and you briefly see him, very briefly in the first one, don't you?
You see him and Rabbit in like a shadowy background shot.
Yeah.
But you see them more clearly in the opening cartoon.
Yeah, they're there for that.
Yeah.
Because they help kill Eeyore, and I'm still angry at them for that.
Poor Eeyore.
Poor Eeyore. Such a lovely, happy... Oh, no, hang on.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
But you notice in the... going back to the first one, when they have Christopher Robin captured and tied up, they're flogging him, they're using Eeyore's tail.
Eeyore's tail, yes. They are. Yeah, I meant to mention that. Yeah, that's another thing the director was like, is it obvious that's his tail or not? And to be honest, I didn't pick up on it until I saw it with the commentary. But yeah, it's Eeyore's tail, so there's a reference there. Yeah. Poor Eeyore, as you said.
Eeyore.
So the second one, the events of the first movie have happened, and Christopher Robin now works in a hospital, but most of the town think he's basically a nut job, and he was the one who done the murders.
Yes.
The 100 Acre Wood Massacre.
Yes.
Or if you listen to a lot of the dialogue in the first one, they keep saying 100 Acre Woods, and the sign what says it was hand painted, and he even painted woods on it, and they had to digitally remove, probably with half the budget, the letter S.
Yeah, that probably took them quite a while to do that one.
Yeah, and apparently there's one shot where it still says it. But yeah, low budget filmmaking, what can you say? But this one, part 2,
we love
better reviews. Part 2,
yes,
it's 47% on the unnecessary Rotten Tomatoes, 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and 2.1 on Letterboxd, which I still think is quite low. Quickly, what would you give the first one out of 5?
Out of 5, see, I'm a great believer that even the worst slashers are still really good and enjoyable, so I would give the first one about 3.
Yeah,
3 out of 5.
I think it's a solid 3, and that's why I gave it on my Letterboxd. It's you've got to think of the budget and the time they done this, and I think it's a well-made film for what it is.
For 8 days of shooting, that's done really, really well.
Yeah, and there's some great. We didn't go much into it, but there's some great kills in it. There's a stamping on a head, sort of that sort of thing.
It's always a favourite horror trope. That one, just standing on someone's head until it squishes like a grape.
Well, that scene at the end, they said, was very influenced by Halloween Kills, what came out a couple of years before that. Yeah. And that bit is so like a shot out of that film. And yeah, so I think for what it is, it's a 3 out of 5. And I kind of want to get why people hate on it so much, But when I look at the half stars and that sort of thing, I'm like, you just don't like the idea of the film.
Yeah.
If you don't like the idea of the film, don't watch it. It's that people go into these things with that mindset, and there's this. I bet a lot of people gave that a very low score without watching it.
Yeah, I reckon they did. And it's one of them films where it's not ever going to win any Oscars. It's just a genuinely funny time, isn't it? You go into it like it's going to be fun just to watch a character who we've all known from childhood. We've all had the books from when we were little. We've all had like Winnie the Pooh cuddly toys and things. And we know this character is such a wholesome thing. Just to see him going on a rampage and things. It's just a funny novelty film. Yeah, and we don't know what happened in the Disney side of it when Christopher Robin went off to uni to leave his friends. This could have happened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for all we know, this could be a prequel to the Ewan McGregor film. Yeah, I was going to say, we actually got Ewan McGregor in on this. Yeah. But the second one... That would have blew the budget. Yeah. The second one has got quite a well-known actor in it, Simon Cowell, hasn't it? Yes. Is that how you pronounce it? Cowell? Something like that. Who Shakespearean trained actor in loads of films. He basically plays the guy they think is the main sort of evil villainy guy. Yeah, the hospital porter man. But he was one recruiting the kids for what was going on. So Christopher Robin finds out. Well, he's in the hospital. He works in a hospital. Everyone thinks, or a lot of people think, that he is the murderer, apart from his parents and his girlfriend. And it turns out there's a backstory of his brother going missing when he was young. So when he goes to therapy, doesn't he? That's what I get confused about. So he goes to therapy for, one, the trauma of what happened in the events of the last movie, and because his brother was abducted when he was a kid. Yes. So he thinks this hospital porter, because he has flashbacks of stuff he couldn't remember. He can sort of vaguely remember the shadowy shape of the man in the car. Yeah. See, it's got a plot, right? All this criticism. Yeah, it's got quite a deep plot to it. Yeah, it's this one's a film. Yeah. So peak cinema. Yeah. So it's this Simon Cowell character. He thinks is the. Am I getting the wrong name? Is that the guy from X Factor? Simon Cowell is in X Factor. Is a music producer guy. Yeah. But I think there is another actor called Cowell. Yeah. Look him up. Look up the. Yeah. Am I just pronouncing it wrong? So he thinks this is the guy. It turns out he is, but Callow. Simon Callow. So yes, facts wrong, Andy. Callow. Callow, is it you I'm looking for? Yes. Callow. So it was him who adapted it, but he was he desperate for? He was an alcoholic or something. This guy got him to do it, and he really regrets it and feels bad about it. That's why. And so it was someone else who is the character you think would be Al later. Yeah. And he's experimenting on these kids and basically mutating them with animals. And that's where these lovable characters come from. And it says that the memories Christopher Robin has playing with them as a kid was a lot darker than his memory. And there's some really weird but great scenes where there's a friggin' scary looking bear boy. Yeah, he looks more menacing than the grown up Winnie the Pooh. Menacing but also quite cute. It's weird. Yeah, he's very top heavy on the head. Yeah. And then kind of goes into a slender child body. And he's just got menacing eyes. He just stands there looking down all the time. Yeah, and Robin's happy, like, I'm playing with this bear. But the bear's like clearly evil as hell. And I like that. I think that's a really cool. A little bit of trauma on that bear, I think. Yeah, I mean, with the second one, do you think that if they had the budget, the first film would have been this story? I think so. I think if given the reputation and the budget, I think the first film would have been a lot more like this second one. Yeah. But I think they needed to have laid the groundwork with this first one just to gauge interest and see what people think about it. Then they go, right, now that we've got an interest in this, we can say that's a film within a film, and then we can launch a point off from this second one. Yeah. And I remember when I bought the second one the day it came out on Blu-ray. I wanted to go and see it in cinema. It got a release in London. The world premiere was at the Prince Charles Cinema in London, and it was shown there for a while, and I just didn't get a chance to see it. But then, weeks later, it had a Blu-ray release. And when I watched it, I was like, wow, this is... it is no masterpiece, don't get me wrong, but it's a good, solid horror film with a lot going on. Yeah, it is definitely a big step up from the first film in terms of the action, the The cinematography is a lot better. The acting is a lot better.
Yeah. Like I said, the main actors in the first one I thought were good. I don't necessarily think they needed to replace Christopher Robin, but we don't know what went on there. There might have been another reason. And the guy they've got to play him now, as I mentioned, Scott Chambers, is involved in the franchise. He had something to do behind the scenes in the first one, and he's directed the Peter Pan one, and I think he co-produced the second one as well. And he can act, and if you look him up, he's been nothing major, but he's
done some stuff.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit, yeah. So they've got him, and the main actress is really good, and I see that she's going to be in the next one as well. Because there is a part 3 coming out.
Yes. I'm hoping for Eeyore's revenge.
Yes, yeah, that's what I said before. My theory for, and you probably thought this as well, is somehow they will bring characters back who've died, because that's going to happen.
We've seen that at the end of. You've seen regeneration with some of these characters anyway.
Yeah, so I want Eeyore to come back and be the hero of this franchise. And what's the Corey Feldman character in Friday the 13th? He could be like him.
Yeah, Tommy.
Yeah, and there could be a different actor play Eeyore in all of them. But yeah, the actress is Tatalia Evans, who's also been in some quite not a lot, but she was in like Son of Rambo, which got a cinema release, Centurions, Penelope. So she's been in some bigger films.
Yeah,
and she's down to be in part 3, which I'm looking forward to. Now, there's several. We'll talk at the end about what's coming with this franchise, but there's a lot.
Yes.
But interestingly, part 2 made slightly less money than the original.
Yeah, I think that the maybe reason for that is when the first Winnie the Pooh came out, people were like, "Oh my god, we've got to see this film! It's like a horror version of Winnie the Pooh." And then maybe the way the film was, it kind of put people off to see the sequel, so it had less of a shock value. But it's genuinely a better film than the first. Yeah,
I mean, it could be as well that the first one, I mentioned cinema releases. I don't think the first one in this country got a cinema release. So it might be that it got a bigger release worldwide. So with the sequel, in more countries it came straight to streaming and Blu-ray. So therefore it didn't have the opportunity to make as much money at the box office.
Possibly. I think it's banned in a couple of countries as well.
Yeah, I think they're both. Yeah,
banned in China and Korea, I think.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but and there'd be a lot of money there for that. But also, it would traumatise a lot more people.
Yes.
So yeah, and I mean, this one it's a lot more brutal, I'd say.
Yeah, especially the opening scene.
Yeah, it's the violence is there thick and fast all the way through these, and because we're talking about 3 films here, it's not like if you listen to other episodes where we go into detail about certain scenes, because I actually want people to see these films, and this might be the one that I get feedback going, Andy, you're wrong, they're rubbish, but it's the sort of trash we want to talk about, and I don't even like referring to stuff like this as trash, but I see what people do.
Yeah.
But I mean, even things like if you look at especially the second one, you look at the artwork on the posters for the Blu-ray cover, when it got a cinema release. I love all this stuff. The imagery of it's great.
Yeah.
On the first Blu-ray, there's a section of fan art. This has become a cult film already, and a lot of people have done artwork about it, and the anticipation for more movies. And I think one of the reasons I do think they're good films for what they are. I keep stressing that. But one thing that makes me like them more is all the hate it's getting. I'm like, I know it's probably the wrong term to use for this sort of thing, but grow up.
Yeah.
Right. There's all this I've called these episodes childhood ruin because of people making a fuss about it, and I'm like, don't watch it then.
Yeah.
It doesn't take anything away from your childhood.
Yeah.
What did I watch? There was a podcast recently about someone I was listening to it. They rewatched Superman 2 and didn't like it and said that ruined their childhood. It doesn't take away the joy you got out of that when you was a kid.
Exactly.
So, I watched Superman 2 recently. It's brilliant. What the hell were they talking about anyway?
It's a fantastic film.
I think that is the mould for all the Marvel ones. It's great, that film.
Still to this day, the perfect Superman.
Yeah, I think so. And but yeah, we digress.
Yeah, we digress. That's a topic for another day.
But also, these movies, they've done... Did you realise that this was the first live-action Winnie the Pooh that wasn't Disney as well?
Yes, it's the very first time it's ever been for an adult audience, very first non-Disney property, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, so, put that in your honey jar and smoke it.
Bother.
Yeah. But, I mean, and also, these films aren't as daft as you'd think there'd be. They're not. There's no real silly humour in them. There is humour there, obviously.
Yes, but there's no outward jokes about I'm Winnie the Pooh and I'm doing this kind of thing. It's treated very seriously and.
Yeah, the humour is very like the humour in. It's more Friday the 13th than it is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
There's no wisecracking apart from the one oh bother line. Oh, there is one bit actually in the second one when you see Tigger, where the teenagers want to get out there and they go that's bounce off or something, and he goes, that's my line.
Yeah, but that more fits into the character of Tigger being the hyperactive kind of wisecracking character of. Yeah,
I think that's what he's going to become, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to become the Freddy Krueger. We should mention that bit actually, because Tigger, he looks a mess, doesn't he?
Yes.
He's dark, scary. Yeah, he's the one who has the one-liners. But because of his hyperness, Owl keeps him in a cage.
Yeah, which could be why he's so hyperactive when he's allowed out of the cage, is releasing this pent-up energy that he has.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about one scene actually. They go to a rave.
Yes.
And
the rave scene.
And this is a bit of a horror trope actually, going to a party or a rave. And when they get there, I think every character in there looks a complete idiot. I don't like these people. I want them all to die. Guess what?
They will die.
Yeah. And they go on the rampage in there and kill a load of drug addicts.
Never before has a rave scene been this brutal, except for in Blade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got very Blade vibes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. And so Owl comes into it. He's dark, and it's building and building.
Yes, it's definitely built.
And then at the end, oh no, they've all been killed, or have they? Yeah. Watch the end credits.
Yes, there is a mid-credit scene. Yeah,
and another beautiful animated scene. And I like these animated scenes in both of them because of it gives you the feel of the old Winnie the Pooh, and that distanced me from Disney as well in a good way. Because did you ever read the books as a kid?
Yeah.
Because they were different, weren't they? They're very British.
Yeah, very, very upright British.
Yeah, and also it's a great thing that we forget these are British films. And in my head, I lump these films with Terrifier. If you look at my Blu-rays they're together because they came out at the same time, and they were both these low-budget films that got lots of hate. But then there's people like us who are like, you know me, I'll go watch anything. And let's say this podcast is sci-fi as well as horror, and there's a lot of big-budget sci-fi I want to talk about. But films like this make me happy that there's people out there wanting to do something dark but different, but also for low-budget filmmaking, this is such a huge success.
Yeah.
Sod the Raspberry Awards. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a fan of the Raspberry Awards, but they're kind of done tongue-in-cheek, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're kind of more of a... They're bad, but come on, that's kind of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and you get things like when Sandra Bullock won one, she showed up and gave all the...
Halle Berry, wasn't
it? They're probably both won, but Sandra Bullock won the same year she won an Oscar, and she showed up and gave out DVDs of the film. Yeah. And it's like... That probably helped this movie as much as it did.
Yeah.
Destroy. But I don't know how the filmmakers would react to that. They might find it funny, or it might hurt them. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but as they say, any press is good press.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting the name out there.
Well, for something like this, it's good press. But for something like The Postman, which you mentioned earlier, that for a while really destroyed not just the Raspberry because it bombed, but the Raspberries couldn't help that film.
Yeah.
And it was years before Kevin Costner directed anything.
Okay, I'm with you there.
And I think he was caught doing something inappropriate. But I don't know. But he's back now, and he's making some good films. Horizon was banging, that Western.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you saw that as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 3-hour epic. They're supposed to be sequels, and then it doesn't look like they're going to come out now. But whereas with this, one thing I will say, I hope it stays being like cult movies, because I think that it could get too big and then just...
There is a danger of it becoming Terrifier levels.
Yeah.
Where you've got the first, your All Hallows Eve, which was super low budget.
Yeah.
Then you start the first Terrifier, also low budget. The second one, which got a little bit more press to it, so it was getting bigger. And then the third one, cinema releases, popcorn buckets, big, huge, exploding new horror character. Yeah. There is a danger with some of them, as we'll talk about in the sequel, because they've got a big name actor who's now our best friend, who we've met like once.
Oh yeah. So quickly, a rating for part 2.
Part 2, I give a solid 4 out of 5 because it's definitely an upgrade from the first one.
Yeah.
I find it funny. I think the kills are a lot better. It advances the plot. It gives us kind of, in my eyes, gives us a Thanos level villain for an overarching villain for the whole franchise that could possibly be seen, but we'll talk about I think there's two overarching villains in this Pooniverse for the first bit anyway, and I think we'll see more of that in the next film that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I totally agree. If you look at me letterboxed, Andy Martin 81, Andy with a double E, and I've given it a solid 4. I don't know if I've written a review or not. I might have done. This was great. It's a great standalone film, but it starts building this world. Yes,
I believe the last cartoon ending is previews of the upcoming films as well, aren't they?
Yes, you see some of the characters, and it's happening. These films are in production. Before I started recording this, while in the bathroom, I was reading an article about Bambi the Reckoning, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, we'll just have a little pause here for a second. It might be seconds for you, I don't know what I'm going to do. But if you haven't seen Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, watch it before you listen to the rest of it. It's available on streaming. There's a lovely Blu-ray of it, and we'll be back in literally seconds of your time, but minutes of ours to talk about that.
Wakey, wakey. Peekaboo.
How did you get down there?
I'm Peter. It's nice to meet you.
When Timmy went missing, what do you remember?
He's close to Neverland, and he must act now to take the children with him.
It's time to collect.
Oi, freak! You gonna pay for that?
I'm Peter. Do you know what I have?
Don't worry about Michael. I'm gonna take him to Neverland.
So if you need a hand...
Wow.
Who wants to come to Neverland with me? It's my duty to send the kids to Neverland and protect them from this world.
In a place where you can be a little boy for the rest of your existence.
Marco?
Hello.
Marco?
Hello.
Right, we're back. Hopefully you're back with us. If we didn't traumatise you too much or your childhood was too ruined.
Sorry about that.
Yes, you've gone and cried yourself on your big Winnie the Pooh pillow and hugged
your Tigger
Teddy and Rabbit and all the other lovely characters who have been ruined for you.
Who hopefully we'll be seeing more in future films. I hear the next Winnie the Pooh is going to have the Heffalumps and Kanga and Roo.
Kanga and Roo, yeah.
See some kangaroo kicking action in that one.
Yeah, a Strofe. Hopefully they'll give them Australian accents.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're talking about Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, directed by Scott Chambers, who played Christopher Robin in part 2 of Blood and Honey. This was released this year. Another one with a fairly small cinema release. Didn't do nearly as well as the Winnie the Pooh ones, but it's hard to say because it might have done really well on streaming. And I think that's the market for these films. So I always mention the budgets and stuff, but you can't go that into it. Now this one has got the highest reviewed of the 3 films we're talking about. On Letterboxd, it's got a massive 2.3 out of 5.
Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah, and on IMDb, an even huger 4.9 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Yep, and I'm going to go straight in there and say too low. And this one I've seen twice now, and I have to say the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is different to what I thought. It's
a lot darker.
A lot
darker than the Winnie the Pooh films.
Yeah, and on first watch, I didn't see much linking it with the other films, but there's loads of Easter eggs throughout. I suppose we'll mention a few of them, but don't go too far because people will pick up. Right, did you want to just quickly sum up the film?
It's a very, very dark, twisted telling of the Peter Pan that we know from taking children to Neverland to be young forever. But this is from what we see, there's one scene where we see him floating, I believe, but we don't know if that's an illusion because of the drugs that he's taken, which he calls his pixie dust, which is how he coerces Tinkerbell into his side. He basically takes this poor transgender woman and turns her into Tinkerbell by injecting her with some drugs and just basically brainwashing this poor woman into his ways of thinking that he is actually helping these kids. But it's left kind of ambiguous to whether or not Peter Pan is a genuine kind of supernatural character, I find, in there, and whether he's just a normal man who's had a complete psychotic break and is now just completely an insane serial killer who thinks he's doing good.
Yeah, I think this film has been made it can be a standalone film, which you can take either way, but more he's psychotic.
Yes.
But as the franchise evolves, he will become that character.
Yeah, I personally believe, as I said earlier, that they're going to be two overarching Thanos-esque level characters. I believe one is going to be Owl, who will be the mastermind behind turning these creatures into things, and I believe that Peter Pan is going to be the big bad for the upcoming Poohniverse Assemble movie, where they get all these characters into one thing, and I think they're going to have to try to bring down Peter Pan.
Yeah. And played superbly, I would say, by the Heath Ledger-esque actor Martin Portlock, who I hadn't seen before, but I think he does a lot of stage work.
Yeah, he's very much a stage actor, I believe.
Yeah, and so menacing, so dark, and they do really
so dark.
Yeah. And that does remind me of Heath Ledger's Joker, but less clown. I mean, at the beginning he dresses up as a clown.
Yes.
Because the opening scene, he is at a circus and talking to a kid, and I think he gives him a balloon or something.
Yes.
And then it jumps to the kid at home, and he comes out of the cellar door, a bit reminiscent of the sewer in It.
Yeah, the Pennywise scene, and Georgie. Yeah,
and talks to him and abducts him, and it flashes forward 15 years
after a brutal encounter with the
it's this is a dark film.
Very, very, very dark film.
And flash forward to 15 years later, we meet Wendy, who is Wendy Darling, who is older than the character of Wendy in the original. It was a play first, Peter Pan, I believe
it was a play first.
And then a book, and then Disney ruined it. No, and then animated, and there's been loads of versions of Peter Pan. And Wendy, I'd say she's late teens, early 20s.
I'd say so. Yeah, she's got Michael is. I believe he does have a birth date in this film, but I can't remember for the life of me how old he actually say he is in there. But he's still at school.
Yeah, the younger brother.
Yeah.
And so it's basically the younger brother of Wendy gets abducted by Peter Pan, and she becomes the protagonist, trying to save him, and she blames herself for being kidnapped because she was supposed to pick him up from school. He got a new bike for his birthday, and he wanted to ride that home.
Yes.
So basically, while she was distracted by a penis, by talking to her boyfriend, and he just bikes home, and that's when he gets abducted. Now, there's a few things in this movie that I think sort of modern feelings done well.
Yes.
It really implies that Michael is gay because he's got his best friend, and which is quite, I'd say, controversial for young kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't go full that, but it does suggest that quite a few.
Yeah, it's heavily hinted at.
And he's bullied in school, and one of the other kids puts a sticker with a homophobic slur on his back. They don't say the word, but it's there. And I think that would happen in school, so that's fine. And then
kids can be cruel.
Yeah,
kids can be cruel.
And we mentioned they've made Tinkerbell a transgender woman, and there's flashbacks to when she was a child.
Do they ever explicitly state that she was transgender before Peter got his hands on her? I can't remember. I can't seem to remember.
It doesn't. It's you see the bedroom, and it's all sort of girl stuff in there.
Yeah.
And then they talk about how she, when she was a he, felt like he was a she.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was a child who knew then, but obviously young. So,
yeah.
And Peter Pan tells Tinkerbell that her parents weren't happy with that, which wasn't true.
Yes,
because you see the dad, and he's fine with it.
Yeah, he said, "Yes, I just miss my daughter. I just want her back."
Yeah, so I think that's really well done. It might upset certain people they're doing that, but these people need to know what year we're living in.
Yeah, exactly. They just need to grow up.
yeah.
Ironically, for a Peter Pan film, these people just need to grow up.
But I think the cast in this movie is great. The young lad who's got a really long name that my handwriting's terrible. The actor's called Peter, who plays Michael. Now, he's the same kid who played the little bear.
Is he?
In Winnie the Pooh 2, yeah, it's the same kid with that might be why he's got such a big head, because that kid's got massive hair.
Yeah, that could be it. They fill out the mask with the hair.
There's some huge hairy kids in this film, because his best mate's got a massive
afro head of hair.
Yeah,
head of hair.
The child acting's fine. The adult acting's really good. You've got Kit Green as Tinkerbell as well.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic in this film.
Great performance, and the whole film just looks really grim and gritty, and
it's like it's shot through like a grainy kind of like grey wash filter kind of thing. It's very. There's not many scenes where it's bright. It's all very darkly toned. Yeah.
And when you at the end, when you see like Peter's lair, he keeps the kids. It's this kind of place that I just want to give a good clean.
Yeah.
I want to put my rubber gloves on.
Yep.
And give it a scrub. Interesting fact, I forgot to mention, in the first Winnie the Pooh, his yellow hands were cleaning gloves bought from a shop for £1.
No.
Is all they used. It looked fine.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Good old marigolds.
This movie is very dark. Should we mention a couple of the crossover bits?
Yes.
The same policeman from Winnie the Pooh 2 is there.
Yep.
One of I think it's one of Wendy's friends earlier in the movie mentions that she's off to the character Maya mentions that she's off to go camping, and then she's in one of the camping scene at the beginning of Winnie the Pooh 2, which suggests that it's set at the same time, not just and in Winnie the Pooh 2, is it set at Ashdown as well, the same town?
I believe so,
yeah, named after Paddy Ashdown,
the politician,
Liberal Democrat, which is a fun little
just a random fact to throw in.
And so the police officer is played by I've got Robinson, so it's Jameson Robinson was his name, I think, but I reckon he'll come into it more later on as well.
I think he's going to be a recurring character.
Yeah, and one of the heroes. But there's some really dark scenes in this as well, and the fact that it all centres around abducting children is takes it to that next level of just horribleness, I suppose.
Yes, and what also sends it to another level of kind of dark, gritty thing is you see active drug use within the film as well.
Yeah,
it's not something they cut away from. You actually see the drugs being injected in.
Yeah, and you see, if you know the Peter Pan story, there's his shadow, Peter Pan's shadow, and there's a couple of scenes where you see him reacting or talking to his shadow, and that's only when he's taken the drugs.
Yes.
So is it all in his head, or does the drugs make him see what's real? And there you do see him float, but then when it cuts to someone looking at him, he's no longer floating. Now, has he fallen down because someone's seen it, or is it all in his head?
He's also, for bizarre reasons, you see a completely naked shot of Peter Pan in this film, I believe, don't you? And
he's got no willy.
He's smooth as a Ken doll.
Yeah, which they've got to explain that.
Yeah,
I reckon a crocodile bit it off.
It could be.
Yeah, he's got no, and I suppose
no genitalia at all.
And I suppose that is also weirdly saying that even though he's abducting and killing these kids, there's nothing sexual.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that in his mind he believes that he is helping these children go to Neverland.
Yeah, and then he just gets angry when they try to stop it because he thinks he's doing good. I do think it's hilarious that he goes back in the van with "Let's go to Neverland" written on the back.
Yeah,
he's basically saying, "I'm nicking them kids."
Yeah.
There's a really dark scene with the van pretends to break down. There's a coach full of kids. He kills the driver, cuts away. Then there's a news scene, and
it doesn't shy away from showing the dead bodies of the children that he's scattered around a field.
Yeah,
which is very, very dark and something you don't see very often. Usually, when children get killed in horror films, you tend to get them cut away from it. You don't actively see him killing the kids, but you see the end results of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot darker than the other two. If I was a parent and had teenage kids, I probably would let them watch the Winnie the Pooh ones, but I wouldn't this.
Yeah.
But it's just less, even though the other ones aren't silly, they are, but you know what I mean? Not joke. This is a lot less fun. There's a bit of dark humour, but it's more shocking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This is the far more adult-themed, orientated, twisted childhood universe, Poohniverse film.
Yeah, I could see this one, not because of the characters they use, but I could see this movie would be one that a lot of people, it might trigger them. They might want to turn it off for that reason.
Yes.
And fair dues, but look into what you're getting into. And critically, but from actual critics and stuff I've read from fans online, a lot of people are saying this is the best one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is the best one for sheer horror fans.
Yeah, I'd say on first watch I thought it was the best one, and then when I rewatched them for rewatchability, I would say Winnie the Pooh 2.
Yes.
But as a standalone film, it's freaky as hell. Bits of it, Peter Pan buys a mask or steals a mask. He kills a bloke in the shop and takes it.
Yeah.
Brutal scene.
Great effects in that scene as well.
Yes. It's well done. It's not constantly gory all the way through, but when there are kills, they don't shy away at all. But he steals a mask, and he wears, when he's wearing the mask and talking to kids, it really reminded me of Black Phone a few years ago, and he makes phone calls to the parents as well, doesn't he?
He plays some kind of circusy kind of themed music to these notes, and then he tells them they've taken the child to Neverland.
Yeah. And that reminded me because of the phone and Black Phone. I will say as well, if you hear background noises, we were recording this. Neither of us got much time this week. We recorded it in my flat. It's windy outside, yet really hot, and I'm above a pub. So if you do hear stuff, I do apologise. But we do what we do. This is a DIY podcast.
We move.
It's dark as hell. Brutal killings.
There's not much rays of hope.
No.
And as we were talking about earlier, without giving away too much, what there tends to be typically the villains of the main stories turn out to be the more or less the good guys in these ones, don't they?
Yes. You want to mention Hook, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the this is the thing, because I've watched these at once and blurred into it, and I did watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit last night, so I've got other films in my head. That's a great film.
It was Jessica Rabbit who done the whole thing.
It was Christopher Lloyd. Now, is Hook a kid that is he the kid he kidnaps at the beginning of the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you know the lore of Peter Pan, you know that Captain Hook's real name is James Hook.
Yeah. Okay.
And the kid at the beginning is called James.
Yeah.
Who then, when you find out later in the film, you find him. He's got a hook for his hand, so that is the same character as Captain Hook.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. It wraps up with Hook taking Pan away. Implies that he kills him, doesn't it?
It implies that he's doing something to him.
And then final scene, year later, or just this next birthday, isn't it?
I think it's next birthday.
They're all having fun. Haha, isn't it great? It's like the end of a He-Man episode where they all laugh and you think he's going to freeze frame, but the phone goes. Wendy answers it, and it's
the ominous music again.
Yeah.
So implying that he has somehow survived.
Yeah. My notes here. No Willie. Dark. This is another good film, but it is the one that I could see, and not because it's a bad film. I think there might be certain bits in it for a certain audience members it goes too far.
Yes.
But also, you're not going to watch this film not thinking that, you know. And there's probably people disappointed by, especially the first Winnie the Pooh, it doesn't go far enough. So
one day we'll find a happy medium. Winnie the Pooh 2, happy medium.
Yeah. So anything else about Peter Pan? We'll give it ratings again. But
yeah, I think it was. There's one scene where he cuts off Tinkerbell's hands.
Oh God, that's horrible.
Yeah, I think that's a reference to I believe in one of the Peter Pan stories, he referenced clipping her wings.
Yeah, he rips both arms off, doesn't he? Before the hand. Yeah.
So I think that might be a callback to that.
Yeah, he says he'll do that. Yeah. That's as I said. There are 4 fans of Peter Pan. They'll pick up on this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if fans of Peter Pan would like this or hate it. Probably a lot would hate it.
I think a lot probably would hate it.
But then mature ones would just appreciate the references and the thought that's gone into it.
Yeah, but I think this is more for the people, if they look at it as this man is clearly insane and he thinks he is Peter Pan, then that's different for the other people.
Yeah, he's someone who's obsessed with the character. Yeah. I mean, the levels of it are quite good, right? I mean, they could have just made this film with some nutter putting on some green tights and a hat and going around stabbing people.
Yes.
And that could be it, and people would watch it and it'd make money. Whereas with this, it's world building subtly with the other films, but it's its own dark film. And this is the kind of thing that with things like there used to be the Horror Channel, and I suppose with streaming. Imagine you'd not heard of these films, and you get home from the pub one night, put this on at midnight, or maybe you got some mates with you. You'd be like, "Wow, this is dark. This is a horror film."
Yeah,
and
this is a modern age slasher horror film.
And I generally think so far, because we'll talk about what's coming up soon, if they'd stopped after these 3 films, 10 years down the line, there'd be fan sites on social media like bring them back. It would build and become, why didn't this go further? Yes. I mean, at the minute it's getting a bit of stick, but those of us who are liking it are liking it.
And there's quite a few of us who are liking this.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, there's certain things like at Comic-Cons, there's a different person playing Winnie the Pooh in the second one, but the guy from the first one, I think, wasn't really an actor, just done it. He goes to a lot of the Comic-Cons, and you always get people comment like, "Oh, why is he here?" and film as well, but he does them, and people go. Next one I'm at, if he's there, I'll get his autograph.
I'll definitely go and get his autograph and have a little chat with him.
Yeah, I think he takes the mask and stuff and getting involved with the fans.
Yeah, that's what you want. It's a silly little horror film that just appeals to a great bunch of people. Yeah. Really.
So I'll just quickly. I don't know the order, but I'm going to list through the up and coming ones that we know of.
Yes.
Right. So we got Blood and Honey 3.
Yep.
Then we got
Fingers crossed, Eels Revenge.
Yes. Bambi the Reckoning, which is out pretty soon.
Yep, I think that's out in August.
Yeah.
Time.
Oh, and in Winnie the Pooh. No, I think it's in Neverland when they're looking something up online. There's a news article that says something about a zombie deer.
Yeah.
So that's already been referenced. Yeah. So we've got Bambi, Blood and Honey 3, Alice and the Mad Hatter, which is in pre-production. That's going to be directed by Scott Chambers again.
Yes, I think that has potential to be really good, especially with the character of the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
I hope they might go down a dark, twisted Batman-esque route with the Mad Hatter.
That would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. And the Pinocchio Unstrung. Now this one has got.
Really looking forward to this one.
Richard Blake's in it and Robert Englund.
Yep, our new best friend who we've met once.
Once at Comic-Con, yes. Yep. Yeah, and then they've got Pooniverse Monsters Assemble. So, but I looking at how they look along, I think we're going to get Bambi next.
Yep.
Then Pinocchio, then the Pooniverse, then Blood and Honey 3, then Mad Hatter.
Potentially, yeah.
I reckon they'll introduce the Mad Hatter in the Pooniverse.
Yeah, I think he might be like an end credit scene, maybe, or you might even.
He's definitely in it. With the cast.
Yeah, yeah. You might hear some laughter, and you might see a teapot.
Yeah, but we don't know, and it's sort of a lot of it's under wraps, and I'm guessing from the how it's gone that these guys know what they're doing.
Yes,
and the quality of storytelling from part 2 of Blood and Honey has been great. So I think already at least what they'd call the wave 1, 2.
Yeah.
They know, they've got it in their heads. They're there.
They know what they're doing.
So that's my theory.
Yep.
But who knows? I hope it doesn't all go wrong.
I hope not. I have very high hopes for the Pinocchio one. We've been quite oversaturated with Pinocchio movies recently. We've had the new Disney one, cursed Disney, and we've had the Del Toro.
Yeah.
That one for Netflix, which I haven't seen, but I've heard mixed reviews about.
Yeah, I've heard some good.
But the fact that they've put Robert Englund in this one gives me a lot of hope that they're taking it very seriously. I've heard it's quite Chucky-esque.
Cool.
That instead of trying to do the good deeds to become a boy, like he just goes around skinning people alive to try to wear their skins as it. But Robert Englund's playing Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, he's just doing the voice, isn't he?
I think so. I think it's going to be mainly kind of like CGI character.
Yeah.
But I can't confirm that, but I just know he is playing Jiminy Cricket. So you never know, he might, in this original story of Pinocchio, I believe Pinocchio killed Jiminy Cricket. So we might get to see Robert Englund dying on the hands of a puppet boy.
And what's the name of the inventor who was Tom Hanks in the terrible Disney?
Geppetto.
Geppetto, who's played by Richard Brake, who is done loads of stuff.
Yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses. Yeah. Big Rob Zombie Club, right? And fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's done a lot. And he was in they done a revamp of The Strangers recently.
Yes.
And that's going to be a 3-part, and that got slated. I thought it was okay. But there's one scene of him in that.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to come into the sequels, and that franchise might turn good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love the original Strangers film.
Yeah, that was cool. So we'd like to thank Rhys Frake-Waterfield and Scott Chambers and everybody else who's been involved with this so far.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us these films. They are honestly, they're some of the funnest films I've actually seen in quite a while.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward. One of the most invested I've been in these franchises for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's not like Star Wars or Marvel or Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's fun. It's like, even Terrifier now. I mean, when the first 2 Terrifiers came out, I had to seek them out. And the third one, which I don't get me wrong, I thought Terrifier 3 was great, but it was everywhere.
Yes.
And that's cool in a way, but you feel like you appreciate these films more because you have to either, for us, travel to London to go and see them at the cinema, or you wait and you have to buy them when they come out. And I went to HMV the morning both Winnie the Pooh 2 and Peter Pan came out, and bought them the day they came out. So I went to work, waited 12 hours, and then watched them late night, and then straight online rating it and seeing what other people thought. And and when you look at these, like Winnie the Pooh, the first one on Letterboxd, where the lowest rating is half and the highest is 5, 50,000 people have given it a half, and 4.7 thousand people have given it 5.
Yeah.
I'm more on the side of the 5 than I am the 50.
Yeah, me too.
And that's what being a horror fan's all about. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast, why me and Sam get on so well, because we can chat about these films.
Yeah.
But me and you as well, we disagree on some horror films.
Yeah, we do.
And you can accept you're wrong. No, it's fine to have different views. And if you don't like these movies, fine. But I hope you've enjoyed listening to us talk about it. Hope you've enjoyed me getting every actor's name wrong. And
we're waiting for the cease and desist from Simon Cowell saying I was never in this movie.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but saying that, he'll probably charge me for using the use of his name and make loads of money out of it.
Yeah.
But it's such a good thing for independent horror, British horror.
Yeah.
I don't care what country a film's made from, but
I think
for us going to festivals in this country, it'll be cool.
Fun. I think at the end of the day, when you think and you talk about these Winnie the Pooh and these Twisted Childhood universes, you tend to smile when you talk about them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing when it comes to filmmaking, that like you're getting some enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Even if you're laughing and saying these films are no good, you're still laughing and saying how bad was it? You've got to watch this for this.
Exactly. And to be honest, some of them, not so much Winnie the Pooh, but Peter Pan and Bambi especially, and I suppose Pinocchio, they come from dark stories anyway.
Yes.
So people remember... I thought I turned my phone down. I didn't. People remember the Disney versions, but before that, they weren't as dark as this, but they were dark stories.
Yes, like, I know it's not slightly the same, but the Little Mermaid, the original story was she sold her voice to get legs, but every time she walks, it's like standing on shards of glass.
Yeah.
They don't say anything about that in the Disney films.
No.
It's like, the stories were a lot darker when they were originally told.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like harkening back to the original, like the originals.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to say that I like Disney films.
Oh, yeah, I love Disney.
I'll still go and watch every Disney. If you listen to the radio show, I do. I like the new Disney Snow White. I don't care. There's been a few I don't like, and I should. The Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio, the character looked just like a cartoon. That film was terrible.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
So I think you can enjoy both, is what I'm saying. And if it ruined your childhood, well, you must have had a good childhood, and that's what it was for. So we're gonna do we're going to do more every now and then episodes like this, and I think the next one, if you're all right with doing these, well, I'll ask you while we're recording. Would you rather do a separate episode on the Mickey Mouse ones and the Popeye ones, or do them combined?
Yes.
But separate.
I think they deserve their own separate.
Yeah, because there's at least 2 we could do on each.
Yes.
And we will do one on. I think we could just do an episode, even if it's a short one, on banana splits.
Yeah.
Because do you see me looking over at the film? Is there any we could? I don't know if there's anything we could link banana splits with, because that's a remake of a TV show. Oh, that's what. If you haven't seen it, we could combine Banana Splits and Fantasy Island.
We could do.
Have you seen Fantasy Island?
Yeah.
Because they're both old TV shows that there's horror versions.
Yeah, I mean, we could also, if we go the route of animatronics things, we could do Five Nights at Freddy's with it as well.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's written. But we could. And if you've seen it, is it Willy's Wonderland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could do. Let's do like an animatronics one.
Yeah.
And then we can fit Fantasy Island in at some point.
Yeah.
But we're not going to pump one out a week or a month. We'll just do them as and when. And hopefully there'll be more come out and more to talk about. But I think next we should do Mickey Mouse.
Yep. I loved Screenboat.
Screenboat was great. If you haven't seen Screenboat, I always say Steamboat because it's based on Steamboat Willie. It stars the guy whose name escapes me from Terrifier.
David Howard Thornton. Yes.
And I know if we do these, we can briefly mention
Mean One,
because he's in that as well.
Another fantastic, which you could kind of link it with the whole Pooniverse. They're completely different universes, but they're still stories from your childhood that they've twisted around.
Yeah, so they could possibly ruin your childhood. Sam, thanks for joining me. And just quickly, I will put the link on your band.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. You've been going a while now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. We are Hope Ahead. We are a pop rock band from Ipswich and East Anglia. We've been going as this current iteration for about 2.5 to 3 years now. We've got a new single out called Ghostly, which is available on all streaming platforms, and also a music video for it, which was the greatest day to film that. We all worked until about 6 o'clock, headed straight to our friends at Anglo Entertainment, and they've done an amazing music video for us, and we shot that for a couple of hours, then went to McDonald's and celebrated.
Yay!
It was fantastic. We have a merch store as well. We're available with our t-shirts, hats. It's www.hopeaheadmerchstore.co.uk.
Excellent. And you follow you on Facebook, Instagram, everything. You're on a lot of them.
Hope Ahead UK.
Yeah, so find them. And I'll be back soon with another episode. I don't know what. I've got Trancers. We're finishing up the Trancers franchise with James Rowe. We've got parts 5 and 6 to talk about. And first time I'm announcing this, in July, I'm going to do an episode with an old friend of mine who was supposed to come on ACM's Vault of Cult when I used to do that, but we never got around to it. We're going to talk about sci-fi action classic Universal Soldier. Wicked. That'll be coming very soon. Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme together. Me and my mate Benji will be talking about that very soon. There's loads of stuff coming up. And we've got merch as well. Check out the links on the Facebook page and Instagram page. Big thanks to James Howard for doing all our musical interludes and theme, and Ian Pointer for the logo and doing the merch stuff. That's been fantastic. But mostly this episode, I would like to thank Sam for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on, Andy.
And respect to Eeyore, you are missed.
Rest in peace, Eeyore.